Okay, great. Thank you everyone for joining me tonight. There are a few more coming. So the talk tonight will include mainly two parts. The first part, probably 20 minutes, I will briefly introduce myself, the US National Chemistry Olympiad, and the challenges, the study strategies, and my online class. And I will leave the majority of the time for the question and answering. And I think we will end no later than 9 o'clock. Okay. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any question during the process. Okay. First, a very brief introduction about myself. So I worked in a high school in both China and the US. Right now, I'm working in a STEM-focused private high school in US. It's in Princeton, New Jersey. So I teach all kinds of chemistry classes. Give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry. Let me continue. So, I teach honors chem, AP chem, two post AP electives, basically college level for inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry in my high school. So as I mentioned, we are a very special, really STEM focused high school. So this is why we offer so many advanced courses here. In not only chemistry, we also offer the similar courses in other science, math, and engineering. I'm also working here as a competition coach. So there are typically 5 to 6 students in my chem team. So we work together, kind of have a weekly schedule to meet each other, discuss questions and give them some guidance. So you probably know, if you kind of get the information of this info session from my website, you probably know I have more than 10 years of experience in coaching students preparing for the chemistry Olympiad, both in China and the US. So there are so many students I guided who won the national level or even the international level chemistry competition. So I got a student who won the ICHO gold medal in 2018. If we talk about the camper student, definitely more than 10 students. If you are familiar with the Chinese system, definitely is the most challenging and difficult, competition system in the world. So our local exam probably is even harder than the international chemistry Olympiad. So it's much more challenging to send kids to the study camp in China. So during the past few years, I work in US, I kind of, guided actually a lot of students. So here, when I say more than 10 students, I didn't count those students who are not from my school. So I only counted those students who are, study in my school and really, get kind of years of guidance from myself. So I try to be, let me see, the one more student coming. So I try to be more likely a motivator or a mentor. So typically I do not give them, kind of long lectures or kind of teaching the competition class now. So I kind of give them the guidance and tell them, you need to read this book at this moment. You need to, work on this group of practice problems. And, you probably need to shift your direction a little bit, focus on this chapter or this topic. So yeah, this is pretty much, what I do in the past. So today, I also have my assistant, Alex, to join us. So Alex, would you like to, say hi to everyone and say a few words?
Hello. Yeah, my name's Alexander Han, but everyone calls me Alex. I was a former student of Dr. Chen's at his high school, and I'm a incoming freshman at Amherst College, but currently I'm on a gap year and I'm just helping Dr. Chen out with whatever he needs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So Alex, will mainly be responsible for, the email system. He will later, communicate with the students and the parents. And also, he will be the major, person to take care of our Discord server, probably the Google Classroom system as well. So if you have any question, feel free to contact him. So we will share the same email, address. Next, a very brief introduction about the US National Chemistry Olympiad. May I ask, it seems like most of you didn't turn your camera on, so it's not very straightforward for me to see your response. How about I do it in this way? So now say A is you participate the local exam before, okay? B is you participate the national exam before. C is you either got high honor or honor. D, I don't know, maybe ABC should be enough. Let's try to, A, interesting. Probably it's a little bit late for me to do this. I need to type some questions right now. A, B, let me quickly do it. C, save. Yeah, I hope it works. Can you see the ABC from your side? If you know your kids, feel free to put that in. Just for me to know, how much, how detailed I need to kind of, give you the introduction. Did you see the ABC? Good. I already saw your response. Yeah, if your kids is here, so probably parents, don't need to answer the question. So if your kids is not here, feel free. If you know your kid's situation. Good. I saw, several responses. Probably not all of them, but I think it can be a, representative situation for the whole group, right? So let's end the poll here and share the results with you guys. So it seems like most people here, took the local exam before, which is good. So which means I do not need to talk too much. So basically, there are 4 steps. If you think about this is kind of a whole pathway, right? So in every March is the local exam. I also, put the number of students who participated in the recent few years in each level, right? So now say around 20,000. It's not a very big number if you consider, this is a kind of a national chemistry Olympiad. If you compare it to the math competition, definitely this is a relative small number. So which means the competition is there, but not that kind of rigorous. And then in late April, typically is the last or the second last, weekend in April is the national competition. So every year, top 1,000 students, from each local section will be invited to join the national. I will also briefly talk about actually this top 1,000 is not really the top 1,000 students, based on their score, because they are nominated or selected based on local sections. So next step is based on their performance in the national exam, the top 20 students will be invited to join a study camp. Typically is in Colorado. Sometimes is also in Maryland. Last year is a little bit special because the COVID-19, so everything changed online. So they had the first historic online study camp. So I was lucky to volunteer there and join some of the activities in the preparation and organization of the camp. So the camp activity will be in the early June. And then from the top 20 students, the top 4 students will be selected to represent US to participate in the International Chemistry Olympiad. So basically this is the idea. Yeah, as I mentioned, let me know if you have any question. Feel free to jump in. Yeah, there are a few limitations, which is slightly different from the other competitions. First, definitely, the student need to be U.S. citizen or green card holder. So I don't think there's an issue for for us. And the more important stuff is here. No more than 2 students from each high school, per local section may be nominated to take the national exam. So a lot of students do have some concern about this. But if you are from a relative small school, let's say, 100, 200, or several hundred students, it should be fine. And even you are from a very, large school, like public school system, typically you do not, if you are well prepared, I should say, you do not have so much, strong competitions, even there is a limitation like this. I will introduce the details, a little bit more later. So those are pretty much the 2 limitations. And then a very brief introduction about local and the national exam. Local, since most of you guys, participated, 60 multiple choice questions, a relative standard exam. It should be done in 110 minutes. But I put a kind of mark here. Some local sections, shorten the time because, the competition there is more rigorous. And some local sections even, add a actual test, let's say a few, relative more challenging questions, kind of to work together with the local exam. There might be a few sections who even do not use the local exam paper offered by the ACS. So it really depends. If you want to know what is the policy in your local section, you may need to contact the coordinator of the local. And you can easily find the name and the email of the coordinator from the ACS website. National exam, 3 parts. Part 1, also 60 multiple choices. I should say it's much harder. And also, as you can see, the time is shorter, right? And it covers more stuff, but the style is the same. So 60 multiple choices divided into 10 categories, which means there are 6 questions in each category. Part 2, 8 written questions. If you have the experience in taking AP Chem exam, you can pretty much, think the 8 written questions are pretty much similar to the free response questions in the AP exam. So multiple parts, 105 minutes. Part 3 is the 2 hands-on experiment, the lab part. It needs to be done in 90 minutes. So last year, as I know, it should be the first year, without, lab part, because, everything kind of changed online. So I would expect in 2021, I'm not so optimistic, the coronavirus, everything will be gone in the following year. So probably there will be no lab part for the coming year's competition as well. And then how the students are selected or nominated and what kind of awards they will be given. First, it's really not called selection. It's called nomination, because some local section do not even give the test. They just nominate a few students. But most local sections, as I know, they nominate students based on their performances in the local exam. But as I mentioned before, there is no certain kind of, unique or universal cutoff line for all of the local sections. It varies. So some local sections are kind of more competitive. So they typically have a relatively high, cutoff line. So now say 50 or 55 out of 60, right? But most of them kind of have a kind of 40 or even lower than 40. So it really depends. And as I mentioned, some local sections even provide a kind of extra exam to bind these 2 parts, right? Just for them to choose the best students, because if the competition is very strong, very rigorous, the difficulty in the local exam sometimes is not enough to differentiate the strongest students. For national, first I want to emphasize those formula here is not official, but we are pretty much sure this is the fact, especially based on the experience of last school year, the first, online USNCO, we kind of, further confirm, this formula. So the top 150 students, more accurately, should be the top 51 to the 150. So they will be awarded as the honors award. But only their part 1 in the national exam will be considered. And actually, probably only their part 1, only the part 1 will be graded. So their part 2 or part 3 probably will be kind of just, discard. And then is the top 50, they will be awarded a high honor. So there is a formula. So very interesting. So the part 1, let's say in total is 60 points, right? It will be multiplied by 5/4. So if I didn't calculate wrong, it will be 72.5 or 75. Yeah, 75. It will be 75 points. And then part 2, the original score is 100 points. So basically, for those students, these 2 parts will be considered, and their ranking is based on this formula. So as you can see, part 2 is slightly more important than part 1, right? And then for the campus, the top 20, there is a kind of a similar equation. You need to add the part 3 as well. So the part 3 originally is 50 points, but it will be multiplied by 1/2, and then it gives out 25 points. So in total, for the top 20 students, the total credit is 200 points. So probably you realize the lab part is not so important in the kind of overall equation. So it's only 25 points out of 200 points, right? A little bit more than 10%. So this is kind of the characteristic of the USNCO. So the major part is the theoretical exam, right? No matter it's the part 1 or part 2, is based on your understanding of chemistry, not related to your hands-on skills. And a minor part is the practical part, is the hands-on experiments part. And for the last school year, this is 0%. And for the coming year, as I expected, probably this is also 0%. So everything will be graded based on your performance in the written test. Yeah, it's a pretty standard test, which includes 10 topics. How many of you kind of, are familiar with the 10 topics? Yeah, I just saw the question. So let me, answer the question, later in the QA session. Okay, I saw a question from probably a student or a parent. So I will not, since I'm not sure, how familiar you guys are with the 10 topics. Definitely, we will have enough time to talk about this, in my class, right? And then, in the recent few years, it's getting harder. Actually, I should say much harder compared to the test before 2016. So how and why? First, so the local exam and also the national exam includes more complicated calculations, which require students to have a stronger, algebra foundation. And also the descriptive chemistry part, a lot of students call it trivial. This is their nightmare. No one really likes it, right? This part is also getting more in-depth. And then some conceptual questions appeared. in both kind of atomic structure, in kinetics, in equilibrium, in thermodynamics. So basically, you need to really have a very deep and good understanding about those concepts, and then you can successfully answer those questions. And the last part, the organic chemistry is getting more advanced. So previously, NASA, you only need to read a college level of organic chemistry textbook, only the first few chapters. But right now, you probably need to finish the first semester, especially in the national exam. And another thing, if you still remember, local is in March. For most of local sections, probably the results comes out by the end of March. And then the national exam is in late April. So there is a very short interval between these two exams. But the difficulty bump increment is huge. So this is why a lot of students did a very good job in the local exam, but they got relative bad results, or at least unexpected results in the national exam. That's because first, they didn't realize there is a much, large difficulty difference in the local and the national. And also, after they get the results, oh, I qualify for national exam, there is not too much time for them to really prepare. Okay, yeah, so any questions so far? I got a few kind of questions, from the private session. So I think I can, I can answer this question first. So it's a little bit earlier. So my class will prepare the students for both local and national. Why? Because there is not so much time for you to prepare the national after you know the results of local. It's less than 1 month, less than 1 month. So this is why, we typically prepare the student both for the local and at least for the national part 1, because the style is pretty much the same. They are both 60 multiple choices. The only difference is the national part 1 is more advanced, right? So if you kind of, aim at the national part 1, I believe you would do a very good job in the local. So you don't need to worry about this. So based on the characteristic of the USNCO, here I kind of listed a few challenges I realized, in the past few years when I help students to prepare the USNCO. First, for most of students, the biggest challenge is no one to talk, no one to ask a question, no one to consult. So basically, their chemistry teacher, even the AP chemistry teacher, couldn't answer their questions in the competition level. And also, I believe most of students who seriously prepare for the USNCO are juniors. And everyone understands how crazy it is in the junior year. There are so many things to do, right? Standard test. Hopefully this year it will be slightly better, all right? I know a lot of colleges kind of, remove the requirement, make it optional or totally remove it for the standard test. But still, junior definitely will be very busy, right? And then a lot of trivia to memorize, and students hate it, right? But what I want to share with you, actually, I do not call it trivia, because descriptive chemistry is a very systematic part. It's just because the US textbooks and the US curriculum system does not include this part. It's not included in honors Chem. It's not included in AP Chem as well. So this is why you need to get some specific guidance from an experienced teacher or coach. And then organic chemistry, which we call it ORGO, is very hard to self-study. This is different from the AP level of contents, because for a lot of students, who are kind of aiming at the pre-med, the kind of, their final goal is to be a doctor. So organic chemistry definitely is their headache for most of them. So even for students, college students who major in chemistry, I believe most of them will choose algo to be the most challenging part. Yeah, so it's not surprised to see a lot of students have good local results, but probably unsatisfactory national results. And sometimes students think themselves have a very good preparation, but the results are not so, as expected, right? I think the first one, this one, good local, bad national, is mainly because first, the preparation time is not enough for the national, because students are not sure whether I can, pass the local exam. So I cannot really start the preparation for the national. So this is not my way. My way is always kind of prepare students in a higher level. So even they didn't perform so well in the local exam, so they still got a pretty good results in the local. And then they still have the chance to really fight for the national. And for the last one, good prep and bad results, typically the students' work are not graded because they think, oh, I did it correct, but actually you need to show your work, and the work might not be complete. And also there are a lot of details such as the units, right? The writing style, the significant figures, and a lot of details need to be taken care. So if you do not have someone to grade your stuff, you don't know. You think, oh, I did pretty well, but actually you probably lost a lot of points. So every year, when I ask my students to have it's not called prediction, kind of, when they got the answer key of the national part 2. So ask them to grade themselves. So typically their grading results is much lower than my grading, because I will be the most, kind of serious grader, the test exam, reader. And then if they can be trained in this way, definitely it would be benefit for them to take the exam and kind of, avoid this kind of, relative silly or small, mistakes. Yeah, so this is pretty much, how I can try to, help the student, help your kids. First, I will guide your study. Not only the knowledge, not only the problem solving skills, but more important is, the timeline. So for example, this is very specific. For example, you are a sophomore, I will give you a kind of a slight different way compared to if you are a junior, right? And what is the right time to do the right thing? Definitely, if you are a junior, it will be save you a lot of time. So I know a lot of students, they are kind of very independent students. So they did a lot of research, in Google, in different platforms, different forums, right? And they are kind of an expert in competition. But I really do not think this is something they should do. They should focus on, preparing the competition, and not, rather than, taking the time to find what is the best textbook, what is, some good problems to practice at this moment, what is, the problem they need to do in the next stage. So this is something the teacher, the coach should finish. So, and next, chemistry competition definitely can be studied, by the student themselves. But typically, if they read the books, their understanding is not so deep. You need to have someone to help you deepen your understanding. And as I mentioned, the grading is very important. You finish the problem set, right? You did a mock test. You need to have someone to check your stuff, to grade your stuff, to let you know what are the details you need to pay attention. So I can also help you to analyze your strengths and I think many weakness, right? This is how you improve yourselves. And if students are from my website, so probably you already saw a lot of I think, very useful resources from my website, like the YouTube videos. And you probably know I'm an expert in descriptive chemistry and organic chemistry. So I definitely can help you the most in preparing, the most challenging part in the exam. Yeah, so basically, this is a very brief introduction of my online class. It will start from the coming Sunday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm expecting students to have a solid background in algebra and at least 1 year of honors chem or equivalence. If you kind of self-studied in honors chem, it should be okay. But if you are taking AP Chem right now, or you took it last year, it will be even better. It will not be kind of overqualified. No. So different level of student can get different, in a different way from my class. If you have a stronger background, you probably will gain more. But that doesn't mean if you do not have if you only have 1 year of honors chem, it should be a kind of a good entry level. So it will cover all of the 10 topics in both local and the national exam. Yeah, this is very important. In the past 2 years, I organized, the spring camp to help the students to prepare the national exam. So based on their feedback, they all mentioned, wow, I learned a lot. I never learned, chemistry in such an in-depth way. But not everyone did an excellent job in the national exam. That's because, it might be a little bit too late. So they didn't learn those stuff in a systematic way. So this is why, starting from this year, I changed my mind. I want to, start a little bit earlier to try to train the student, from the beginning by using my own style and my own way to really, build a strong and systematic foundation. Yeah, we'll have kind of weekly 2 hours of live online sessions, and it will be combined with lecture notes I will show you later, and problem sets. As I mentioned, it will be graded by me. Hopefully the class will be not too big. I'm expecting, a number kind of less than 10 students. Yeah, so we'll have a kind of seasonal mock test. It will also be graded, and also it will be analyzed. So I will also offer the office hour after class. I'm still thinking about whether Google Classroom is the best platform or is the Discord server. We will see. I will discuss with the student after the first class to see what is the most practical way for them. And I will invite a TA group to join us. And most of them are really top award winner in the USNCO. I have a few campers, a actual gold medal, and a few other students. They are all my students. So they are willing to, support my class and help the students. Yeah, here is kind of, some feedback from the spring camp in 2017 and 2018. So I don't think I need to read it, from the beginning to the end. You can, have a quick look. So most of, I should say, all of the feedback are positive. I even didn't, pick up and as a kind of copy the whole page, everything. So if you probably, see a few keywords repeated several times, in depth, very helpful, learned a lot, and, descriptive chemistry is very useful. Yeah, something like that. So this is the schedule. Starting from the coming Sunday, the first season will end up November 29th. This is the first season, so I will mainly cover the structural parts. So like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4 topics. Atomic structures and the periodicity, which is here. And then molecular structures and chemical bonding, which is here. And then phase change, gases, liquids, solids, which is here. Hopefully, if we have some time left, because, my pace will be slightly revised based on the feedback from the students. So hopefully we'll have some time to talk about the stoichiometry and some introduction to the descriptive chemistry, because descriptive chemistry is really a long-time process to prepare. It's not, I give one class and you understand everything. So we try to build, from the beginning and then build it step by step. So after one semester or a whole school year, hopefully everyone should have a strong background in these parts. So this is kind of the fourth topic. So season 1 will mainly cover 4 topics out of 10. And then season 2, we are going to talk about the other few, like thermodynamics, kinetics, equilibrium, organic chemistry, redox and electrochemistry, and then that's pretty much everything. That will be done by the end of February or early March. And then I will offer a few, probably free lessons for students to really prepare for the local and the national exam. So that is kind of my plan at this moment, but we definitely can, change it based on the need, the feedback from the students. Oh, yeah, parents ask about, is there any recording? Yes, I will record all of the online lessons, but I strongly, recommend students to take all of them online rather than kind of watching it, offline. Why? Because I really, appreciate the interactive communication with the students, right? So if we start the online class, I have to say I will not accept something like this. Everyone, turn their camera off. No, I'm sorry. If you do it this way, I have to kick you out. I will refund you. So we need to, make it into a interactive, communication. But if you do have something unexpected, special, let me know in advance. And I accept, up to 3 kind of recorded lessons, so which means you can request up to 3, lessons. I think it's kind of fair number. So if this time really doesn't work for you, either we can, further discuss what the best time, but probably it's very hard, or maybe this is not the right class for you at this moment. So yeah, this is I can call it a 4-year course, but we start from September. We pretty much will end at late April, because late April is the national competition, which is pretty much the ending for most students in this school year, right? Because after April, only 20 students will have to work for the next step. So that is not, the majority of the student group. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to offer the honors Can or AP Can. So if you have at least 1 year of preparation, this should be a good level for you. Oh, by the way, yeah, I want to briefly show you my lecture notes. So as you can see, I just want to briefly show you. This is kind of the results of at least 5 years of accumulation in my school when I kind of coach the chem team. So I kind of revise these lecture notes every year. So try to make it easier for students to follow, easier for them to self-study after class and before class, easier for them to review after class, and and try to make sure it covers all of the most important and challenging, topics in the exam. So this is already my maybe 10th edition or even more than that. So this is the first lecture note, which will cover the first 3 classes. As you can see, is about 20 pages. And then this is the problem set 1. So it includes different level of questions. In the end, I also, add some questions from the other countries' exam. For example, the CEE, this is the question I translated from the college entrance exam in China. So they are pretty good questions. CCHO, that is the Chinese Chemistry Olympiad, the Taiwan Chemistry Olympiad, the KCHO, the Korean Chemistry Olympiad. So this is kind of my hobby, to look into the Chemistry Olympiad, in different countries and find some good questions and to put it in. Obviously, I do not understand Korean. I even do not speak Korean at all. So I should thank Google, and also I got some support from a Korean colleague in my school. The UK Chemistry Olympiad. So most of the questions definitely are from the English-speaking countries. They do have a lot of good questions, which can support the USNCO. But you probably see there are a few others I translated from the other countries. I'm sorry, it seems like I used too much time. I didn't realize I kind of finished my part, pretty much 40 minutes. Yeah, right now is your time. Let me know if you have any question. You can either type your question in the chat box or you can directly ask. Probably since we do not have so many people here, it's relatively easy for you to ask directly. And if you have a question, after the class, feel free to contact me, by using this email. I also, put the QR code and the link for you to register, my class here. So you can use your cell phone to scan the QR code and quickly, finish a survey. And then Alex and I will, further contact you. Yeah, I'm open to answer any question you have regarding, the USNCO itself, the study strategies, and my class. And even if you decide, maybe not to take my class, it's also fine for you to further contact me. Okay. Let me see. Okay, I got a question. Kind of how much time students need to input for each problem set? Let me briefly show you. So there are in total around kind of 10 to 15 written questions in total for each problem sets. So this is the work that needs to be done for 3 weeks. So I would like to expect kind of 1 to 2 hours each week, including the time to finish the problem set and also the time to review, the lecture notes. Probably it also requires some time for students to read the book. So, the time question is really varies because different students have different style. They have different learning, strategy. So I cannot really give you a universal answer, but from my perspective, after taking the online class, averagely 2 hours per week should be expected for you to, be prepared for the local and the national Part 1. But if you have more time, definitely, I would like to see, you can put more time here, but, considering the total time is limited, I think 2 hours is a kind of fair and number. Let me have a look at the other questions. If you do not have a camera on your desktop computer, there is an easy way. I can talk with you later about this. You can use your phone as the camera. You just need to pay a few dollars to set up this. And actually, the camera on your phone is much better than most of webcams. Okay. Let me see. What is the score on average have you seen get students nominated for USNCO? I can only speak for a few local sections I know. Since, I'm in New Jersey, Princeton, right? So our local section in the past few years, the cutoff line is 40 to 42. It depends on years. So it's not a very high cutoff, but I know the North Jersey is slightly lower than us, and the Northeastern basically is the Boston area. They are a little bit more competitive. They have a higher cutoff, like 45. And one of the highest, as I know, is from the New York local section, because the New York local sections, includes a lot of schools, the whole New York City, and and also a few kind of towns or cities in the Long Island. So their cutoff every year is around 48. So it really depends. Maybe in some other areas it's even lower than 40. So it's a really depends on which local section you are talking about. But I believe if you email your coordinator, you probably will get a good sense from the coordinator, because this is not a secret, right? You can also talk to the upperclassmen, who prepare for the USNCO from your high school or from the same, local section. I hope I answer your question. Okay, there's another question. If there's only one participant in the USNCO from the school, does the student automatically get into the national level? Probably not. I think you need to kind of, be higher than the cutoff, and then you will qualify for the national exam. But I really cannot represent all of the local sections. Maybe some local sections use a different way in order to encourage more students to participate in the national exam. There is one question about the student who finished AP Chem and is enrolled in organic chem at high school. How useful will this course be for you? It depends. So now say if you have a very strong background in AP Chem, now say if you can get at least 55 plus in the local and 50 plus in the national, I don't think you need to take my class, because my class is trying to help the students to get 55 plus in the local and 50 plus in the national Part 1. So if you're already in this level, I don't think you need to take it. But other than that, I do think this will be a good one for you, because this probably I should say, if you are really aim at that kind of level, probably this will be the best class you can consider. Let me see whether I answer all of the questions here. Oh, the price. The price is $900 for everything in the season 1. 10 online sessions, the graded problem sets, and also the mock test and the test analysis. So definitely the info session today is completely free. Oh yeah, there's a question. Student does not have any USNCO, experience. Is this the right level class for him or for her? The simple answer is yes, but probably if you now say have a relatively limited background in chemistry, you might need to put a little bit more time, during the process. But the good thing is our class is kind of weekly based, so which means students should have enough time to review the lecture notes, after each class. So I have a kind of reading assignment in the beginning of each lecture notes. Let me quickly find my stuff. So which is here. So I kind of refer to textbook, which are the most common used one. The Zhangdale, the 9th edition or the 10th edition, it doesn't matter. If I can show you the cover of textbook later, and all the Atkins. So these two textbook, I think they are both pretty good. If you have only 1 year of chemistry background, I will recommend you to use the Zhangdale, which is relatively easy to read, easy to understand. But if you already kind of took AP Chem before, I will recommend you to go a little bit further, use the Atkins. So my lecture notes, combine a lot of different stuff from different textbooks, but I mainly refer to these two textbooks. Let me see. Oh yeah, I definitely will provide the answer key of the problem sets, but that will be after I finish the grading, after the students submit the problem set, and then I will share the answer key with all of the students. Let me see, did I miss any more questions? Yeah, I think it seems like I answered all of the questions. Let me know if I didn't answer your question.
Hello, Dr. Chen, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the information.
No problem.
My question is, there are a lot of previous years local exam, maybe national exam. How important to do some practice on those exams questions?
Oh, definitely they are very important because they are the best, prep materials. But typically, I will not include any question from the local or national in my problem sets because my problem set is something extra, right? They can easily, freely get those materials by themselves and choose any time to work on that. The best time zone for me to recommend students to work on those questions definitely is after January, if the student is the first year to prepare, the test. So my suggestion is they finish the learning of most of the contents, and then they can start to work on that. So take the student in my chem team, for example. Typically, I do not ask them to, work on those questions before January. So we will use the time from September to January to try to finish most of the stuff, at least, one time of systematic learning, and then they can now say finish one test every day or several tests per week, right? And most of the test paper are not so useful for students to prepare the recent years of exam because the tests start to get harder from 2015. So if students have limited time, we only need to work on the test paper from 2015 to 2020, which means 6 years of local exam paper and national part 1, national part 2. So basically less than 20 test papers in total. But if students have more time and they want to try more, they definitely can go back. But typically they will feel, wow, those tests are so easy after they practice the recent few years.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, your class up to January, you will finish most of the 10 topics?
I think so. Probably we'll have organic left.
Okay.
Because organic is really a big part. In college, we use 1 full year to teach organic chemistry, right? So right now we need to squeeze, the organic chemistry into a few weeks. Definitely, it's very hard. We don't need to talk all of them, but let's say if a student is kind of targeting for the top 20, I should say the whole textbook, the whole full year of organic chemistry should be studied. But that is a different scenario, right? And you know, typically, if students have the preparation in that way, they definitely will, you know, put more time, and probably they start earlier or put more time every week.
Also, looks like this test, like they have 110 minutes to do 60 questions. So the speed to solve the problem is also important. So is that, or you think you need a special training for that, or it depends on?
Yeah, this is the something I will talk in the season 3, kind of in the late February or early March, because I do not want students to practice too much kind of problem solving skills in the beginning. We should focus on the knowledge, the understanding itself, because you know the problem solving skills are relatively easy to master. They just need to pay attention to a few stuff which they kind of, you know, typically do not pay attention to. So you're right. The speed definitely is a important factor for students to get a good score in the test. Local exam typically is okay because the time is relatively longer, right? 110 minutes. Questions are relatively easier. Definitely, there are a few strategies. For example, you know, if this question is too hard, just skip it. Do not kind of, you know, focus there, you know, for 10, 20, or even, you know, longer time. And also, you know, try to use the method of elimination. For example, for the 4 options, I can eliminate A and B. I need to just choose between C and D. So maybe I can just leave it here, but at least I can cross A and B first and leave C and D there. And later, after I finish everything, I still have time, I can go back. So the goal is not really to get 4 credit, right? Every year, there are really few students who can get 60 in the local exam. Maybe only a few students every year from the whole country. And national exam, I never heard of any student who got 60 in national Part 1. The highest I know is 59. That's already pretty high. And typically, yeah, one more thing for students who want to know a little bit more about the national awards. So since the top 150 students are only graded or evaluated by the Part 1, so we kind of have a national cutoff for the national Part 1 for the, you know, honor awards. So that's pretty much kind of 42 points out of 60, 42 points. So if student got higher than 42, typically he or she can get the honor awards, which means they are in the top 150. But every year, it's not really 150 because they need to kind of pick up a cutoff. But the student who got higher or equal to this cutoff may not be exactly 150. So sometimes it's 144, sometimes it's 151. Let me see. When is my office hour? So the office hour is mainly will be offline. So now say if we have a Google Classroom or we have a Discord server, so I will provide, Alex will help me as well, a special channel for our students only to discuss questions there. So I will, you know, be very active in the channel or in the server or in the Google Classroom to answer the questions. It might not be kind of you raise the question, I immediately saw it and then answer the question. It might not be that way, but typically, definitely it will be less than, you know, 1 or 2 days. And even if I, you know, didn't find the time at that moment, I will invite a few TAs to join us. They are very enthusiastic about, you know, answering questions and help others. So besides this, if you have any other question, you do not say you want to send me private, feel free, just send me email. The email probably the best way, but I definitely will kind of make a platform. Right now, I'm thinking about Google Classroom or Discord server. I used to use Google Classroom, which works pretty well. Because Google Classroom is really a good platform for the teacher, for the student to organize, to access the materials, and to have question and answers there. And also everything kind of, you know, was left in the system. So no matter how long you took the class, you can still access those materials. I will leave the Google Classroom for there forever if Google allows. Discord server, there are some benefits. There are also some disadvantages. The major disadvantage I can think about is it's kind of a little bit less organized. So for the old information, it's squeezed in the beginning. So you need to scroll up to see the previous information. So that is different from the Google Classroom, since they are kind of designed for different purposes. Okay, great. If there is no more question, so I will end up the session here. Once again, thank you so much for all of you to join me tonight. I hope I kind of cover the information you want to know and answer your question in a way you are expecting. Feel free to further contact me after the session, no matter you choose my to take my class or not. If you want to know more details about my class, you can also contact me or Alex or join our Discord server. Let me see, did I? Oh, Alex, it seems like I forgot to put the Discord server information here. Would you mind to copy and paste the link here for the Discord server?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, I know, young people, like Alex, prefer to use Discord. Am I right, Alex?
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay, thank you. Feel free to leave. If you already know the Discord, if you don't know and you would like to know, just stay there for a few seconds, and Alex will find it and share with you. Oh, by the way, Alex, would you mind to stay here for a few minutes?
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you, Alex. Oh, you sent to me privately. Oh, I see. Okay, let me copy it. Let me copy it and share with everyone. So as you can see, the limitation for Zoom is, the chat, if you do not copy and paste right now, it's gone, right? I can save the chat information, but it's not saved in your side, right? Yeah, I really hope, I can get the opportunity to work with you, work with your kids, in the school year, because I know this is really a challenging year, right? It's so crazy in the beginning of September. So this is why we kind of, delay our original schedule a little bit. Okay, so everyone, thank you again. Let's stop here. Have a good night. If you are California, have a good evening. Have a good afternoon. Bye bye, everyone. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.